wanted to get in repairs, but nobody would really give me a chance. I just found it to be a hard place to crack into, and so what I would do was I would find out when there were repairs being done, and I would literally just show up.
Well, hi there. Welcome once again to Pool Time Podcast. I'm Brad Duncan with Raypak, and once again we're here to talk about some pool stuff. I just got back from the international show in Dallas last week, where we also attended the Pool Nation Boot Camp and the Pool Nation Awards ceremony, and I did not win Trainer of the Year, and that's too bad. But as they say, it's an honor just to be nominated. So, that was good. Better luck next year, and we'll give it another go. In the meantime, once again, we're doing a training here at the Raypak factory in beautiful downtown Oxnard, California. And one of our students that came in from Phoenix, and that's that guy over there. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our viewing audience?
Yes, sir. My name is Ryan Young, and I'm from Edge Pools. We are located in North Scottsdale, Phoenix area. And we've been in business for about 7 years now. So personally, I've been in the industry for about 15, and I've seen a lot, done a lot, and definitely paid a lot for mistakes. So been around.
Yeah, well, I think we've all been down that dirty, gravelly road of accidents. But this is how we learn, and this is how we find out what not to do. And typically, we try not to make these mistakes more than once, but one never knows.
Well, the second time's always better. So, I like 2 times, then I'm good.
Yeah. The second time is far more dramatic. It means a lot more at that point.
That's it.
So, the question I always like to start out with, how did you manage to find yourself in the swimming pool industry? How did you get started?
About 15 years ago, I had some things happen in my life, and it kind of bottomed me out a little bit. I decided to try something new, got in the industry. Started servicing pools and wanted to get in repairs, but nobody would really give me a chance. I just found it to be a hard place to crack into, and so what I would do was I would find out when there were repairs being done, and I would literally just show up. So I would show up while I would say, listen, man, I'll help you carry your stuff from your car. Let me help you carry your tools. And I would just do it for free. I would just literally help him as much as I could, learn as much as possible, and then that started the whole thing. I found somebody who would give me a shot as a repair guy. I worked there for about 2 years, and then got transferred over to a multi-million-dollar company where the opportunity grew. And then shortly after that, I became the lead repair tech and became basically a mainstay of that company until I started my own company. So it was really just a war of attrition there in the beginning. I wasn't really making any progress. And so I made the progress for myself. I didn't need other people to give me an opportunity. I made the opportunity for myself. So it is possible. And if someone's not going to give you a chance, you just take the chance. Go out there, do some free stuff, carry some tools, carry some product. They'll give you a shot.
Yeah, that corresponds pretty well with some of the stuff that happened to me, because it was just about, I started in the industry 30 years ago, and there wasn't a lot of trainings. There was a few, but you didn't have a lot of opportunity for that. So you either figured it out on your own by, those bolts look like they hold this part to that part. I bet if I took them off, I could take that apart. And then you just figure it out, or you find somebody who will let you watch.
Yeah.
And that goes along with, I was able to, just watch what was going on, see what was happening. Yeah. So you learn a lot that way.
You really do, and people will give you a shot if you just do stuff for free. So it's like the one workaround that will always give you a chance, is if you just offer your services for free. So that's my recommendation to anybody who's trying to get into repairs and wants to move up in their careers, just to...
Well, there's a question I can scratch off my list, because that's something I was going to ask you, if you had any advice for any newbies coming up.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good advice, an opportunity to, learn more stuff, because the more you know how to do, the more you are able to charge, the more work you're able to get, and maybe get to a point where you're pushing the pole less and turning the wrench more.
Right. That's where the money's at.
And
step up.
Yep. I always found that you push the pole to keep the customers, but the customers learn to rely on you for what they know about swimming pools and what needs to be fixed, and then you're the one telling them, you don't need that, you need this, let me put that in for you.
Correct.
And I see that a lot. Do you remember the first thing you ever fixed?
Yeah, actually, the first thing I ever fixed was a backwash valve. I had no idea how to take it out. It was actually when I was on it, after I was learning from different people, but still didn't
Let me stop you.
Yeah.
Push pull?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was as simple as that, but I couldn't get it out, and the guy's looking at me like, is this dude an idiot? And turns out at the time I was, because I didn't know anything, and so he's like, dude, do it like this. So it was a backwash valve that seized up, and the O-rings had been caught in the, just pinched, and so it just wasn't releasing, and I got a hard lesson in just yanking things, until they fix themselves, right? Just hit it as hard as you can until it works.
Yes, and that's good advice for everybody. No matter what you do, just if it doesn't work, do it harder, and then it'll be fine. And if that, the old saying, it's already broken. How bad
break
can it
it hard.
The old saying is, hit it with a hammer, and if that doesn't work, hit it with a bigger hammer.
Yeah, or two hammers.
Or two hammers. Now that's the kind of thing we're looking for, because that never occurred to me. Just get a hammer in both hands. In the case of a push-pull backwash valve, you got to pull up on those.
Embarrassing.
Pretty hard. But I mean, now, was it the kind with the screw-on lid, or did you have screws that held it in place?
You know what? I think it was the old style Pentair almond backwash valve, if I remember correctly. And I just literally, he's like, "Yo, just take the backwash valve out." I was in a training session and just didn't know how to do it because I'd never seen it before. So I didn't want to break anything, but. The more you learn, the more you realize it's just already, you're there to fix it, so it's already broken.
Yeah, it's busted.
How much further can you go, really?
Sure, and it's about, it comes down to, how do I get this thing apart? And after you get it apart the first time, it makes so much sense, you can't understand why you didn't get it in the first place.
Yeah, and as you get more experience and as you move on through your career, you actually will get so good that you can identify screws from random situations. I mean, your mind just now, every time you see that screw, it just locks you into that repair or whatever part that screw is related to.
Having said that, how many Raypak screws do you have in your toolbox?
Enough to build an entire.
Yes, you do. Of course you do. We all do. I think to this day, I still got handfuls of those things. Because you never get them all put back in, and then you start to go, well, that's a pretty handy little screw. I may be able to use that elsewhere.
Yeah, it's all about cannibalizing, parts and products that, are defunct or going to be thrown away anyways. I mean, because, 7/16 bolts, these little tiny parts that you're like, oh.
That's a perfectly good, and look, I'm glad to know it's not just me. The first time I replaced one of those rocker switches on a Raypak, and I paid what I paid for it back in the day, if I told you it would probably seem like a pittance now, but at the time I was like, are you kidding for that thing? Then anytime I was throwing one out, I'm like, well, the heat exchanger's all busted on this thing. There's nothing wrong with that switch. I'm going to take that stupid little switch off, and and of course it rattles around in your truck for 6 or 7 years.
It'll save your life. When you have that thing that you thought you were going to have to wander in the store to get, it saves your life.
I pulled a transformer out of a Raypak heater once, and the day I burned one up, and that was totally my fault, I was able to go out of the truck, get this old transformer, put it in the newer heater, worked just fine. I'd be willing. That was 8 years ago. I bet it's still running.
Yeah.
But I had a transformer. I was able to cover my own mistake without the heater being down, all because I had some old transformer in there.
Did the neutral hit the casing? Is that what?
No, I was. I programmed. I wired it for the high-low switch on a commercial spa, so that it would stay at a lower temperature, like 85 or something, and then you would turn one of those spring-wound spring-wound timers. You would turn that, and then that would heat it up to 102 for a period of time, and then it would automatically turn off and go back to 85 or whatever it was. So when they said, well, we're not really using that, you can disconnect that, I disconnected it, and in my mind, I thought it was two hots, or I thought it was two commons and a hot, and what it actually is 2 hots and a common. So that being said, I assumed that this one wire that I was disconnecting, I thought, well, it'll never have any voltage on it. I was completely wrong. All I had to do was put a wire nut on it, and it would have been fine. But, my truck is way over there. That's like, 15 feet or so. I can't be bothered to walk that kind of distance for a wire nut.
It's those small regrets where you're just like, that extra 15 seconds would have saved me an hour, or 2 hours or whatever.
Or
I've had it happen, for sure.
The sudden smell of a burnt transformer is what it would have saved me. What's that smoky smell?
Yeah.
I don't think that's barbecue.
It smells like burnt s'mores, kind of like a burnt s'more.
Burnt s'more with a little bit of brake dust on it. It smells like that.
Yeah. Yep, that's what it is.
So all right. So you got to fix you got to fix a backwash valve. Now beyond that, and that's when you're finished with that, you go, hey, look at what I did. This is really cool what I just fixed. But moving forward, fast forward a few years perhaps, do you recall a repair that you may have made that you took a great deal of pride in yourself afterwards?
Oh yeah. There's been some really standout situations. I mean, one would be we did a remodel on a second floor of an apartment complex called Overture Kierland. It was so it's, I guess, a repair, but it is still in the pool industry and certainly is a repair to the surface. But this was probably about 9 months ago, and it was one of the hardest things you can imagine. The entire remodel had to be done through an 8x6 crate that was in the center of this commercial complex's pool common area. So essentially you had a building that wrapped around the pool area that was on the second floor, and underneath it was a parking garage. So this 8x6 grate was basically a drainage system so that water could travel through this area that was enclosed down into a parking garage that was about 45 feet below. And so we have pictures of we had to actually have two different separate, machines running at the same time, or, so that we could get the entire remodel done all in once. It was a pretty large pool considering where it was at. But, it was a really complex remodel, and still look back to it to this day and just really proud of it. So, the hard ones are always the ones you're proud of, right? So when you
that makes perfectly good sense when you get it all done, or the one that you couldn't quite figure out, and you walked in and you just frightened, where do these wires go? What am I doing here? I have no business. And when you figure it out, just there's a lot to be said about the self-satisfaction you get out of being able to fix something of that.
Oh yeah. For new plumbers too, I highly recommend always taking pictures of anything you just completed.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And there's a great reason too, because not just because you can look back and feel good about the accomplishment of completing the project, because you put hard work into it, you put time into it, and being able to see something that you really did. I mean, you could go 1,000 different ways with plumbing. I mean, it is a blank slate. You can copy what was there, or you can choose to do it completely different. So in a weird way, it's somewhat like an art project, and to be able to see a picture of it and kind of reminisce, putting it together and seeing the final result is a point of pride, but also gives you an opportunity to kind of look back and see if there's anything that you would do differently. Anything that you think, what, if I had done this, or if I had an opportunity to do this, I probably would have changed that. It does give you a leg up. I mean, I used to do that with every plumbing project, and that night I would look back and see kind of what I had done. And it gave me, just this ability to really perfect my technique and perfect my skill set when it came to those kinds of projects. So that is one thing I will say, with anything that takes a lot of time, take a picture of it.
Absolutely.
Give yourself something to be proud of, and, give yourself something that you can work towards, next time. So
the before and afters are always good too, especially when it comes to plumbing. If you got some mess of spaghetti plumbing that is just 90s every 6 inches. And you're able to go, I can reduce, I can take 30 feet ahead out of this, stupid plumbing setup. Mm-hmm. Everything's going to run more smoothly. I might be able to run a smaller pump on this thing at lower pressures because I changed a few 90s here and there.
Oh, yeah.
And you can go, here's the picture, here's the before. You can see this is a mess, here's the after. Look how much cleaner that is.
Yeah.
That's all good stuff to look at.
For sure.
So, I'm curious, how do you keep yourself up to date on new technologies and how to fix new products and things of that nature?
Well, I've been very lucky. I've had some working relationships with different manufacturers, so I've always, had the right people in my life so that I could call on, someone that I trust, that I know that knows a lot more than me, and, giving them an opportunity to teach me. Whether they're right or wrong, I have had really smart people be wrong about stuff, and I also have been wrong about stuff. But
let me apologize right up front for being wrong about stuff.
Yeah, I am talking about you. So thank you.
I know you are. I'm sure that's what it is. Oh, did I say that?
Yeah.
I was wrong about that. It could happen.
But yeah, it's like finding people who do know more ingratiating yourself to them and being able to, create that relationship where, they're okay because they want to hand off that information. They want to train the next level of, tech and the next people in line, but you have to treat them with respect. You've got to give them an opportunity to want to train you. And that's how you do it. You create those relationships and bonds, and it really does benefit you in the future. So, that's the way I for the training.
Look, if you've been at the counter, you're at your distributor, or somebody comes in and they're like, well, I just don't know what this does. Yeah. And in the back of your mind, you're going, well, I know exactly how that works. And then, do you volunteer the information?
Of course.
Of course. It's what we do.
You got to help someone out.
It's funny. It doesn't occur to us that, you're potentially training your replacement here. But
that's true.
We still can't stop ourselves. We got to go, no, dude, don't buy that. You don't want that. You want this. And they're grateful, and you find that they remember, moving forward. So you go from being that guy who wanders in with a part going, does anybody know what this is?
I do. Yeah.
To the guy that goes, yeah, kid, come here. Yeah, let me tell you how that works.
Yeah.
And that's kind of fun, don't you think?
Oh, it's absolutely fun. It's all part of the goodwill process. It's like do unto others, and as somebody's done for you and trained you and brought you up. You should always pass that on. Always be that kind of person to help the next guy.
Yeah, well said.
Thank you.
Well said. Well, we've come to the portion that, and we've done this in all of our podcasts, but I've decided to give it a name. So now we're going to call it. We're going to call it the segment. We're going to call it "Plug Your Joint."
Oh.
Okay, so it's time for you to plug your joint. Your joint is Edge Pools, and you're going to get to plug your joint. Where are you? What do you do? Where are you located? How do people get in touch with you if they want to use your service?
Yes, sir. Well, we are Edge Pools, and we are located in the North Phoenix and North Scottsdale and basically Central Phoenix area of Arizona. We do remodels, we do construction, AWL installs, pool repair, commercial application, all different sorts of commercial stuff. So we work for some of the largest commercial management properties in the state. But as far as residential goes, our construction is the highest quality. We are put into a situation we are always constantly bidding against other companies for the commercial purposes. So, with the residential, it's definitely one of those things where the customers always get the best pricing and also the highest quality. So if you're looking for anything in Arizona, please give us a call. We can certainly help you and do the best we can to find what you need.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. So a very successful launching of the Plug Your Joint segment of our podcast. And that's all that we have time for now. We actually got all the time in the world. I just say that because it sounds like a good way to round off the podcast. Don't you agree? Yes, the entire cast is nodding. Yes, Brad, absolutely. But you can't see it on camera, of course. There's a good 40 or 50 people in this room. So you guys try to keep it down. I got grips and electricians and set painters. There's just a ton of people in here. We're, for those of you that don't know, the budget on this podcast annually is about $3.2 million. So and you can see it. It's all there on the screen. It's all right up there. You can see the kind of quality we put together. That's it, guys. That's all we got. Thanks for tuning in. As always, you stay classy, San Diego.